The topic is let's debate whether accreditation has made a change or not over the last decade. And for this, we have chosen 5 eminent people, one person to coordinate. So I welcome Dr. Sanjeev Singh, who needs no introduction, and he has already rocked the first program. Request Dr. Sanjeev Singh to come over, and along with it, there are going to be 4 panelists. All of them are seasoned assessors. 2 of them, with great difficulty, have agreed to talk against or why it is not, and then 2 of them happily said we will talk for. So I request Dr. Mohan. Dr. Mohan is one of the assessors from the beginning. He's a principal assessor, urologist of repute from St. John's Medical College. He's a professor of urology. Dr. Manivannan. Dr. Manivannan is joint managing director of Kaveri Medical Center. It's a group of hospitals which has multiple healthcare systems in Tamil Nadu, and himself being an anesthetist. Mrs. Ajitha needs no introduction. I think she was there yesterday in 2 other sessions. Miss Ajitha. And then Dr. Abraham Maman. Abraham Maman is a pediatric surgeon, again a principal assessor, and he heads the quality in Malabar Institute of Medical Sciences in Calicut. So over to Dr. Sanjeev to take the proceedings.
Thank you, Dr. Mohan, and thank you, the organizers, for keeping this debate. The theme of KAHOCON is quality beyond accreditation. And today, between 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., we will be struggling with the basics. Let's not talk about beyond accreditation. Let's talk about accreditation itself, whether it has helped or whether it's a pain or it's a boon. So Dr. Murli has already introduced all of them, and I will also start with a disclaimer to Dr. Kalra. Those who speak again, their assessment should not be stopped. And another disclaimer is, those who are speaking against, it's not their personal views. It is the views which they have collected through 3 mega refresher course and meeting all the assessors over time. So, before we get started, can I request all 3 prominent assessors to, four, sorry, all of them to kindly get started with an opening remark. Do you think the accreditation has made a change? So we'll start with Dr. Abraham.
Good morning, everybody.
Can I, sorry, just one sec. I would like to have a show of hands with all those members who are present here. Only single hand. Do you think accreditation has made a change? Wow. So we'll listen to the debate, and I'll have the show of hands again. So sorry, Dr. Abraham, we'll start with you.
Good morning, everybody. I come to you from MIMS Calicut, which, as you all know, is the first accredited hospital super specialty hospital in our beloved country. 2006, 2009, 2012, 2015, we have gone through 4 accreditation processes, and I would say that I was involved in all of them right from the onset. Accreditation and quality was always a part of our hospital policy. Before even I joined, I was one of the original members to join. There was already a quality team and a quality officer involved, and so accreditation and quality has been part of our upbringing. I have audited this on a number of occasions over the last few years, and we have quite categorically shown that this accreditation has definitely shown an improvement. And probably because of that, we are now in the process of going in for the JCI also. Year down the line, I'll let you know whether JCI is going to make a difference further as compared to NABH, but accreditation does make a difference. Thank you.
Mr. Ajita. Sorry, Captain Ajita. I was trying to send her a mail, but I didn't write Captain, the mail didn't go to her.
Accreditation, has it made a change? Yes, it has made a change. I'm not shifting sides. It has made a change in the lives of those who provide care. The life has become more miserable. Sleep is a thing of the past. And every 18 months, the horror repeats. Jokes apart, accreditation has, in fact, made my biceps bigger. Writing, and writing. Well, you ask any clinician, you ask any nurse. Keep your hand here at the heart and say whether has it made a difference, good or bad difference. You didn't ask that. You only ask whether has it made a difference. Yes, I am agreeing. When we go for assessments, open the cupboards and see how much of document is lying there in the cupboards. My nurses ask me, is the rule applicable only for nurses?
We say yes.
That is a doctor speaking. I would have loved that debate than this anyways. Well, you asked doctors too. Life was much peaceful before 2005. Let's be honest. No one ever questioned anyone. Maybe exception people like me would have questioned some doctors, but that was silenced. But today, you see the most dreaded thing, yesterday also you've heard, the most dreaded thing in life is an NC. Not because it is an NC, because we know that when an assessor raises an NC and it comes in paper, one more form is going to be added for us to fill every day. And that is how all the NCs are getting closed. This is no joke. There are a lot of victims sitting in this audience itself. One information is replicated, triplicated, I don't know, how many times. We had to raise incidents, one incident not once, but many times.
Ajita, we said opening remarks and 2 minutes.
Okay, well, if it is over, I stop here.
Thank you. I think your heart was just pouring out, and we'll leave that for the next couple of minutes also. There's a lot of speaking to be done. But Dr. Manivannan.
Hi. Sitting in between two stalwarts, I'm a bit threatened actually. So basically, yes, accreditation made a lot of difference to my organization. I come from a small town called Trichy in Tamil Nadu. And I'm being a founder, promoter, director of the hospital. As typical like any other promoter, my only objective was profit till 2006. And luckily, thanks to Dr. Murali, who is a son of a soil, he introduced me to quality and he invited me for the assessor course. Then only someone said, what is quality? And I started learning about quality. And thanks to various assessments, I learned what quality was. When I went back home and I told my other directors that, yes, there is one thing called NABH, and we have to implement that. And they called once again consultants and they gave all the fancy numbers. And because of infrastructural issues and my hospitals couldn't go for accreditation. So once again, it went as a limbo. No one talked about quality. Thanks to the entry-level assessments, entry-level NABH, we are one of the first few hospitals to get entry-level NABH. And believe me, it completely changed the outlook of the management, first of all. The number two is the clinicians. And of course, number three is nurses. Probably soon I'll also say that why we haven't increased any documentation and we don't plan to increase any documentation when we go for full-fledged assessment. Thank you.
Dr. Mohan.
In May 2006, Sanjeev and I were neighbors, sitting at the same table during the assessor's course. And at the end of those 5 days, we had a few nice things to say to each other and about the others in the course. In March 2007, Abraham Mammon and myself were part of an assessment team. He was the observer, and Gracie Mathai, who was with us yesterday, was one of the assessors. And we had a few nice things to say about one another and about everything else. If we were to meet again in May 2016, I can assure you, Sanjeev Singh, Sunil Mundkur, A. Mohan, Abraham Mammon, Gracie Mathai, Avanti Gopan, all of us will be saying the same things. But what has actually changed for all of us is that we are doing assessments. If we were to look at what has changed with the accreditation process and what is improved, it has got us to meet a lot of interesting people, see a lot of interesting places, and pick up a lot of interesting jokes. And I would like to end by saying this, that I will, in the course of this debate, be reminded often of a teacher in high school who used to say, a lawyer's pet gambit in court is to ask the accused, have you stopped beating your wife? If he says yes, he's damned, because that means he was beating his wife. If he says no, he's damned again, because it means he continues to beat her, irrespective of whether he was beating her or not. Therefore, as we debate, we will see. And I hope I will be able to crack a few different jokes than we did in May 2006.
So, Dr. Kalra, please don't note down those names which he has taken. It is just his excitement and anxiety that he's taking all of us into the same boat. I am just a moderator. So we'll get started. I think it's heating up, and we'll start with all positive note with Dr. Abraham. So we say in accreditation that there are a lot of quality interventions which are happening, quality improvement programs which are there. So how do you think accreditation has helped these quality interventions?
I would like to start by saying that quality is not something new that we discovered in 2006 or 2005. Quality has always been there for ages, centuries, but for reasons not very clear, it has been suppressed, especially in the health field. We have taken things for granted. We have cut corners, knowing very well that these corners, cutting these corners could result in non-quality issues and serious issues. And therefore, it has resulted in a system of medicine where a lot of things are taken for granted, where it is expected that you can get away with doing a lot of things which are not legal or quality-wise acceptable. And therefore, when NABH started this trend of quality, people woke up to say that something new has been discovered. Believe me, no. Quality has been always there. Quality still continues to be in our hearts. It just needs to come out so that we can show the world that we are doing quality work. And NABH, I would say, with its standards, is just helping us in this process.
So Ajita, any quality improvement program which you think has helped, or we are just saying for the saying sake?
Quality improvement program would help, yes, I must say, if it is done in the real spirit. But what is happening in the name of quality improvement programs across the hospitals in this country, a largest majority of them are made for the sake of it. Yes, it has made difference too in the lives of a lot of consultants who will come and tell us how to document, how to deliver patient care, how to make the patients feel excited coming to the hospital. And it is reduced to a mockery today, where we as practitioners in healthcare are asked to fill up attendance books or make data, insert papers into the patient files, which is a thing of, the files of the past. And I do remember instances where we had to pull out the entire files from the medical records department and had to fake the absolute files were taken out and corrected.
You belong to which hospital?
Can I beg to disagree with her at this moment?
Yeah.
Because I don't believe that.
You have to keep the mic.
I don't believe that falsification of data is a total practice done by everybody. Isolated cases, paper here, paper there, may be there. And I think that would be just in the beginning, when you have a deadline to meet, NC to close. But down the line, this practice slowly fades away and quality picks up its head and is strongly there. Ajita, is my-
Dr. Maman, how I wish what you said is true. How I wish.
I think my question was not on data, it was on quality interventions. So Dr. Manivam, do you think that quality interventions are taking place when you go ahead with accreditation?
Absolutely. Because unfortunately, India doesn't have any benchmarks in anything, actually, not in healthcare. No benchmarks are available. There are whatever benchmarks available are international benchmarks, which are very difficult to match. So we don't follow it. At least now we have certain benchmarks which is followed across the country, even in government hospitals. For example, Bedsode or COTI or VAP and all those things. These are certain benchmarks and there are certain standards available. No one can say that I don't know, I was not aware. So already standards are available, Indian benchmarks are available. So it is easy to follow someone. Like Sir said about the mentoring. There are a lot of hospitals which are there, which whom become a leader, whom we can follow. And definitely all these interventions, personally from 2006, I can say that number of bed sores, VAP, COTI have significantly reduced in my hospital. Of course, I got the accreditation only in 2015, but 10 years without any certification or nothing, we have been following it. And of course, now with a renewed vigor, we are doing it, following it across all our institutions.
So anybody in the debate can come in and I'll ask the audience also if you have any questions to any of the superb assessors and the panelists, you can definitely raise, because if you think there are many answers which are coming rather than questions, then please ask questions. So Dr. Mohan, basically you as a clinician, we say that the accreditation helps the patient, it helps the organization, it helps the clinical care. So what is your feeling from 2005 onwards?
I would like to rely on my own experiences as an assessor and interviews with clinicians which form part of the assessment process. In a vast majority of hospitals, when assessments have happened, clinicians have not been in the picture at all, not even for the debriefing. That has been one of the most painful experiences I've had in the course of assessments. There is a team of well-intentioned people who sits there. I would easily say 80% of the hospitals have this to face, where the clinicians feel the accreditation process is something that the management is driving and the management is engaged in. They're at best benign spectators. In many cases where clinicians have personally involved themselves in quality, there's a vast difference that can be seen, because it brings a tremendous amount of credibility to the accreditation process that the hospital has entered. It brings a tremendous amount of credibility to quality improvement. Therefore, if you were to ask me whether it's made a difference to clinicians, by and large, no. But if I were to be asked, does involvement of clinicians make a difference? It makes all the difference in institutions.
So Dr. Abraham, Dr. Mohan says that they are not, since 2005, they're not getting involved. You being a clinician, what is your perception? Why are they not getting involved? And do you have any anecdotes where they have got involved and there had been good response?
One of the commonest reasons the clinicians say they are not involved in this or don't get involved in this is, I would say two reasons is, one is they believe it is all known to them, they don't need it and they don't really benefit out of it. And secondly, they say that they do not have time for this. Their clinical practice is already occupying their all their time, and they do not have time to go in for documentation and other things which are also necessary from accreditation point of view. However, as I said, we have gone through 4 accreditations, and I agree with what Dr. Mohan said in the initial phases. We had absolutely no clinician involvement in our initial surveys. But over the years and down the line, we are now getting more and more involvement. In fact, our last accreditation, I would say that we had a tremendous input from the clinician side. One thing that I realized is that if you have a clinician who is a stumbling block to whatever process that you would like to put forward, put him in charge of that stumbling block. And if you put him in charge of, say you have a microbiologist who is not very keen on an antibiotic policy or producing an antibiogram, put him in charge of that. Maybe reluctantly, but if he takes charge of it, you will very shortly see the fact that he has changed sites and is now one of your most active supporters. You need to do a lot of tricks of the trade, which I'm sure the assessors pick up slowly. But over the years, the clinicians do understand the importance of documentation, communication, etc., and are very well into the process down the line.
So we have identified 2 who can be put in charge, as Ajita and Dr. Mohan today, because they have been a great stumbling block. But Ajita, do you believe that the clinicians are getting involved, or it is just an accreditation process where they think that they need not party to whole process?
I have experience of both. Where clinicians were involved, they felt it less stressful of going through this or doing it. Even if it is to the extent that the signing and wherever they do sign always, but don't write name or don't write date and time. Date usually yes, but time never. So when these, not that they don't know that it should be written, but maybe because of conditioning. So if they were involved, they felt it less stressful, but if they were not involved, they did feel it, the circulars or instructions coming from either the quality team or the director of the hospital more stressful to follow. But however, it is not a voluntary participation. If the quality coordinator or whoever is heading the quality has the ability to convince that clinicians should participate, then they slowly come into this. Or maybe some of the directors of the hospital their intentions are communicated. Many a times what happens is that we do mean good things, but for some reason language has its own limitations. And the biggest problem what we face is that people fail to walk the talk. Those who know to communicate don't match it with their actions. And I feel that is the biggest stumbling block in quality.
So we'll ask TC for when they sit next to add one more standard for clinicians himself, so that there is more reportability happening. I'll just share a lighter moment. There was this 2 blind animals. I don't know whether you have heard this earlier. There were 2 blind animals who don't know who they are. So one person said, you start feeling me and tell me. So he said, you have a lot of hairs on your body, you have a lot of stout face, and you have a big ear, and you possibly could be a rabbit. The other animal said that you feel me and tell me. Then he said that you don't have a spine, you have a big tongue, and you have a very slippery body. So who could I be? He said you could only be a CEO of the hospital. So with this group of people, Dr. Manivannan, who has, like you are there in the top management, I don't know whether you have a spine, you have a big tongue and you have a slippery body. How do you think the management is taking this accreditation process together?
First of all, I'm not the CEO. I'm a founder director. Okay, I'm a founder director, that's all. Yeah, because I have a spine. I broke it once, so I know that I have a spine. So, yes, as I said, as any founder director or any founder, any owner, profit was the primary motive. Naturally, when I had taken 10 crores in 1998 to build a hospital in a small town called Trichy, where at that point of time, the average revenue was only 75,000, 1 lakh per promoter, you need to work on profit, naturally. Once that phase got over, 3 years, 4 years, once you are confident that you'll be able to repay the loans and all those things, you know that yes, you have achieved a reasonable level in the community, name and everything. Then you start looking onto, yes, what, as you said, can we raise the bar? Oh, what do you do now? can we improve more? And when competition comes, when you say that, okay, fine, in what way I am different from my neighbor? Okay, I'm going to improve my patient satisfaction, or I just look into things like what are the incidents which took me to the litigations, where I paid a lot of money to the court or the lawyers or whatever it is. Then is there a way to prevent these things? Then we start looking inwards and identifying the problems and all those things. Then automatically it changes. And the most important thing which happened in Tamil Nadu is the Tamil Nadu government insurance scheme is one of the very powerful scheme where most of the private hospitals are empaneled for tertiary care. For example, 70% of my cardiac surgery and 80% of my radiotherapy is done through a government scheme actually. So the government introduced 1.5 years back, they said that all the empaneled hospitals should become NABH accredited, either entry level or whatever it is, within 1 year or 1.5 years. You will not believe the number of applications rose very high. And I was able to convince my other directors also that, look, at least we'll get NABH entry level.
But Dr. Mohan, your director is not here. Do you think the management is playing a role, or is it just an understanding of all of us?
No,
You can speak what you want to speak.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the director being here won't make a difference.
That shows he has a spine.
And I won't be CEO. Now, we've seen both sides of the coin. There have been places where I can think right away of one hospital during the first pre-assessment, which happened in 2009. We had to write down, Parag Rindani, myself and Sita Subrao had to write down around 318 observations, which in a final assessment would have amounted to non-conformities, straight away. Now, 3 years later, we were asked to, I was told that they were ready for final assessment, and I said, no, 3 years have passed, we need to do a pre-assessment again. And I was most reluctant to go to the place. Unfortunately, I think I was the only one they could lay hands on, and they said, no, you have to go because you're part of the team. The next time I went, at the pre-assessment, the observations were down to 37. And at the final assessment, there were only 9 non-compliances. And all this happened because from a model where they were relying on an accreditation coordinator and a quality manager to manage this process, everybody in the management simply sunk their teeth into accreditation. They sent people for their training courses. They attended 3 POIs in different places.
Did you drink water?
Yes, I did. Okay.
But how did you become so confused? You were supposed to speak against.
I didn't. Since I have spine,
It is something mixed in it?
I'll confuse you before I proceed. So this is one part of the story, right? I will tell you another story, or actually give you another side of the picture, which is more personal. In our own hospital, we did a gap assessment because we wanted to apply for the CGHS told us to be empaneled, you need to have NABH accreditation. So we did a gap assessment, and when we did a gap assessment, we turned out a document of around 98 actionable points and gave it to the management. At that point, the management felt that we were being very picky because we've been in that institution for ages together, and so we only find faults. So they called an external agency to vet and said, I hope you guys don't mind, we will get them all. So let us get both sides of the picture. The external agency gave them 136 pages. After that, nothing moved. 2 CEOs visited the management and said, a hospital like yours must have accreditation. The last time we had the assessor's refresher course, the deputy director of NABH visited the director of the hospital and told him, you must have NABH. Oh, it's so easy to do. But the fact of the matter is, the task is bulking in the older institutions. And therefore, you will find managements which don't, at least people in management who don't have a long-term involvement with the institution, extremely cagey about backing the process of accreditation if it involves work.
So, Dr.